G'day guys, it's Jake here. Nothing in this video is financial advice. Please do your own research when it comes to investing. Please be sure to check out my links below, including exchanges I use and social media content that I post. All right, let's go. Okay, so topic for this video, we're talking about predominantly Bitcoin, okay, and the top where I think it'll be in 2025. So exciting just topic we're going to be discussing, and I'll show some historic measurements to show you where I see it topping out, and you'll be very, very shocked, you'll be blown away how accurate this has been in the past, I should say. All right, so before we get to that, I want to talk about what's going on in the Hong Kong market around Asia session, which is I'm in Australia. This is our time zone. And you can see the Hang Seng plummeting more than 6.4%, on track for the biggest loss in 16 years. So, wow, it's a big drop in one day. It's absolutely plummeting and not looking very, very good. So, yeah, that's the Hong Kong market. So before the US markets open up, we're getting a very, very weak sign in the Hong Kong market. So it could lead to some downside in the US market. Okay. And before we go to Bitcoin, have a look at the futures in the US. The futures are positive slightly, okay, and you go in the daily time frame, have a look. Nasdaq is wicking up, which is good, and the S&P is doing the same thing. So we're styling out this level, which is just basically touching this high here, made in July, roughly. It's just retesting it, and then continuing to the upside is very, very possible. All right, because the stock markets are primed and ready for another push higher, especially the Nasdaq hasn't even got to its all-time high. It's back here, down here, okay, but it's making a series of high lows, high highs, and it's not far off it to catch up to the S&P, which is already up here. It's nice and strong. It does have a gap here though. I noticed this gap. It's sort of itching to be filled, I think. So we could see a bearish session and a bearish in October, and then boom, off to the races from there. We don't know exactly, but definitely see this gap getting filled on the S&P 500. Okay, so yeah, that is something. It'll get filled now or next year, who knows? But they always get filled. Okay, as you can see there, they got filled. Okay, go back even further. There's a gap here. It came back down. So the market came down and corrected to fill this gap, right? You can go back even further. This one hasn't been filled though. Okay, that hasn't been filled. Just not all the time, but majority of the time they do get filled. So this one here, see, it got filled, all right. And this one here, it nearly got filled, and then it came back and filled it here, okay. So yeah, it does tend to itch to scratch, okay. I'll scratch the itch, I should say. Scratch the itch as it gets the gaps filled out, all right? So those two. Now we go back to Bitcoin, all right? So this is the video. Now on to the main source. So, Bitcoin is sort of hovering around here at the moment. I had a big wick yesterday. It's a quite bearish looking candle, and it looks like it wants to go lower from this candle here, and it's struggling at the moment. And you got the bull market support band right here. It's hovering around this level, and we failed to close above, essentially just right at the SMA 20 week, and looks like we want it to come lower. So that is a fail to close above, and it looks like it wants to go and test these levels down at the 52k level. All right, it's low here because it's not wanting to go higher. If it doesn't go above this level at 66.5 or so, or goes down to the early 50s, which is this cluster of area here, okay? All right. I do see it coming back down, and these lows are here, or as you can see. And another thing I can show you to illustrate this a bit better is the anchored volume profile. If I go back to around this area, all right, to give you the nice bulk of the move, you had going from October 23 to now, and you can see you've got a nice volume profile down here at the 40s. That'd be ideal. If it does come back down here, that'd be amazing. I do see it coming down there, potentially. we'll see. But for now, I've got the 50s levels. All right, and we had to have a nice little spike here in the volume, and we do have a gap. It's a gap here and a gap there. So either side. So it has to come down to here, and that'll be a strong area to buy. This area here, a bit dodgy. If it fails at level, it's going to come down to this shelf here, okay, which is around the 40k level, 41 to 44 or so. All right, so those are those levels, and we'll get to prediction. All right, let's go to the prediction. Let's go in the weekly time frame, and we'll go to. That should be right to go. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So where the top will be for 2025. All right, this is where I'm predicting. So if you look at the halving periods, okay, I need to mark out each halving. So in 2012, right, we had a halving for Bitcoin. I'll mark it exactly. It was around here. That was a halving in late November in 2012. The next halving was 2016. It was around July 11. It was extended, but it was around there. That was the halving. Okay, if you're going to fact check me, go and look at yourself. These are the halving periods. Next one was 2020, and that was in May of 2020. And it was, I believe it was May 10, around this. It was this green candle here, I believe it was. Yeah, it was this one here, May. I'll double check with the measurements, but that is that one. And then we had the recent halving in 2024. 4 years later was April 16 or so. So I put 15, which is a rough date. April 17th, I think the exact day was, but on the weekly, it just gives you, week by week. So these are close enough to the days. And we have each halving period, okay, as you see there, for Bitcoin. If you want to see this in nice and orange, because these are Bitcoin halving, so it's a historical event and very, very crucial for the prediction of price, as I'll show you. So we had the halving periods, okay. Now let's go to the start and to predict where the top was for this cycle, okay. What we do is we have to measure, okay. So you've got to measure from the low, which is around here, 2011 low. So you measure on a price scale, the low to this level, all right, is around 54 weeks, right? Or if you want to go from exactly around this level, it's right on the, it's just after, it's pretty much at the low, 53 weeks, which is roughly 1 year, okay? That's 1 year worth of measurement, which is a low to the halving, right? That is that measurement. Now, if you go from the halving, right, to the all-time high that it made in 2013, the post-halving peak, and you measure it out, all right, around here, it's 53, okay? So from here to here, it's 53. So basically a year and 1 week, all right? So roughly a year. Not exactly, but it's a year. It's a year from the low to the halving, okay? And from the halving to the high, it was the exact measurement that it was, it was exactly from the low to the halving. So from predicting this move to the halving, you can predict the top of Bitcoin, essentially. Not the exact price, but you can predict the time where it occurred. The timing the timing is important, is what we're measuring, is measuring time. Price is hard to predict as long as you use your use certain tools and Fibonacci extensions and all that. But yeah, this is measuring time, and I'll show you where this fits with the Bitcoin risk metric at the end. We're just going to measure measurements. So we have 1 year, 1 year. Okay, we marked the 2013. Right, that is the top. I'll mark it in red. Okay, it's nice and bearish. And I'll mark the bottoms in green, maybe. All right, so green, tops in red. All right, so you buy and you sell. Now, from the top, well, we don't want to measure from the top to the bottom. That's not what we're going to measure, because that's not going to be the exact measurement. So what you want to do is once the bottom has formed, which was around here, this was technically a little wick below, but was the bottom, and we just wicked it. So that was the low there, right? And this one was a bit different. This is, I think, because the halving wasn't certain what day it was, and usually the day it does change depending on the output of the miners and how fast they can mine. The Genesis block, the Bitcoin block, which will be the halving block. So it can differ, the dates, and you'll know when you get closer to it. So it was 78 weeks there, okay. That was that one, all right. But if you measure to here, which was mid-June, it was 74, okay, which is roughly, if you go on the monthly, okay, it's probably easier to measure on the monthly. It's 17 months, right? 17 months. Just remember that. From that to that, if you wanted to go, that was 18 months, but 17 months. And that halving was a couple of weeks later, essentially, or a month later. All right. There we go from the halving date, which was confirmed. And you measure it out. And actually, it was 18. So if you want to make it down there, right from the low to that was 18. And from the halving to the top, so the top was here, but it was just after it. Okay, so it got really close. 18 months. All right, so 18. Going back to 2012, 13. So the low in November 2011, it was 12, right? And then it's 13. If you want to go to the top, which is here, and straighten it out a bit more, there's 12 months. Okay, so there you go. The low, the bottom to the halving, 12. The halving to the top is 12 months a year. I apologise. It's a bit easier to see on the monthly. The weekly was a bit hard, but the monthly gives you a better understanding. But to get the actual dates exact, you have to go in the weekly time frame, okay? And I'll adjust on the monthly. So go to the weekly which we already have done, and we have put these lines in, the halving, to get the exact dates, all right? So that's that. So we've got the all-time high here, and what we'll do is put a line here, and that was the time to get out, all right? And that was the bottom marking green, all right? That's that, all right? So it predicted the length, the time at the top occurred in the 2017 cycle, all right? So very, very interesting. So 18, 18, 12, 12. Let's go to 2021 cycle, okay? And from the very low, which is here, in December 2018, to the halving, which was in May of 2020, and we got 17, all right? From here, halving to the top, right there, and then guess what? 17. There's 17 again. So quite interesting, isn't it? From the low to the low here, that was 18, 18, 17, 17, 12, 12. Okay. You get the pattern. And the next one, right, so that was a 2021 peak. So I predicted that length of time, which was in October, November of 2021. Okay. So quite clear there. Now, we're sticking on the monthly again, and the bottom was here. Okay, as you can clearly see the wick here, and the halving was April, right, 2024. Okay. Bottom's there. So 17. So 17 again. Okay, so it's 17 here. We're close to 17 at 18, so pretty close. A month off, roughly. It's only 1 month, and that was a year. This is a year and a half. This is almost a year and a half, right? And this is repeating again, 17 months. Right, and going from this forecast to where, if you measure, so that's from the bottom to the halving, and you want to measure out another 17 months, okay, which is around here. And this is in September of 2025, will be the top for Bitcoin. Okay, So now we'll go on the risk metric, and I'll show you what's going to happen. Okay. Now this gives you the price. It touches the line, the top and the bottom of the bands. Okay. This is like a logarithmic regression curve, and it's very, very good. And before I do that, actually, I want to make sure I mark the tops. So we're all not going to comment and say, why didn't you do that? Oh, well, okay. I'll make sure I do it. Right, so the bottom was there. That was a green. Okay. And red. And I'll go green again, which is here. Okay. So now we're all good. Looks nice and neat now. All right, beautiful. And the measurements are on there as well. All right. So when you incorporate the risk metric, it helps you identify where price can potentially reach. This is where looking at price predictions. Okay, so you've got the time predictions, right? We need to get the price predictions to line up with time. So, we had the 12 months from the bottom, the very low of this big pullback from 2011 to the halving. Now we had to predict, okay, that was obviously 12, so we had to do another 12 months to get where the top was. And as this was rising, these lines, these logarithmic regression, it touched the top, right? Which was, roughly $1,200, right? That was the top of the 2013 cycle. So it touched that, and that was a very, very clear and precise top. We got to the bottom around here. You can say that, but this is technically the bottom, all right? And then what you got from that to the halving was 18 months, so a year and a half. And from the halving to the top was 18 months, okay? And we touched the top, right? We did go here, and then we did go down, right, on this candle. Nevertheless, the top was already there, so we got close to it. The wick was here, so the wick's just here. So it was 17,000 or so, and the top was 19,780. So got very, very close there because the halving was slightly delayed. It would have been June, but we've got in July. And that was that. And we got very, very close to the top. And that was that one. I touched the top of the band. Okay. Now, you go to the next cycle in 2021, so the third cycle, and you can see that the bottom's here, obviously, clear wick, and to the halving was 17 months. So a bit less than a year and a half. And the halving to the top was 17 months. Exactly the same. So quite very, very fascinating. Now, the price did not touch the top of the band, which it did in 2017, as you can see there, and in 2013, it touched. Now, that was a bit of a deviation, which is quite unusual. So you allow for a bit of room here in the next time you get close to it, where it doesn't mean we're going to touch it, okay? So this stock proved that it didn't get there, okay? And we topped out a little bit later, next candle, but it was pretty close to this one. So the wick's there, a little bit higher at 69K or so, okay? This wick went to 67, okay? Very close. And the top of the band would have been 80K. So yeah, it was like 10K off or so, 14K or so off. But you can't just say this is going to be, it's going to hit like they did in these previous cycles. And even in 2011, okay, we did touch it as well. Okay, so that's touched 2013 and 2018 and didn't get to it there, right? So it didn't touch, but we got close. And you've got to give a rough range. So it allows for you, if it doesn't hit it, you can get out, right? Now, we go from the bottom, November 2022, to the current cycle, and the halving was here, so 17 months, so a year and a half, roughly. And from the halving to where we're going to pick the top, which top is 17 months again, okay? I'm just doing the same measurement, and it's in September. And this is mid-September because the halving was mid-April, so it's 17 months later, which is mid-September. And if you want to project this out to get you a top and in price, okay, so we know whether it's roughly going to top in time, but in price, you have to go to a drawing and the arc drawing, okay, and to project it out, And we'll go like this. Okay, so the arc gives you a rough understanding. We're trying to get it as close as possible, guys. See, this arc's pretty good. So I'm trying to line this up. So I'm lining it up where price can, trickle down. Okay. And obviously we've gone too far, but it doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, it's gone past it, but we want to go September. All right. So where we can top. Now, like I said, we didn't touch here. All right. Didn't touch the top here. And even this, the curve's slightly down, right? Just to allow for a bit, safety. We have a top around here, and that is here. Sorry, let's make it red. The other ones, and what does that put us at? $200,000 Bitcoin, 200K. So that is roughly 210 at the top of the band, or if it doesn't get to the band, it's 180K or so, or even 170. So roughly in this range from 170 to 200K Bitcoin. Okay, that is what we're looking at here. It's a potential top at 207, and yeah, that is that one. Or if you can go a bit lower, doesn't quite get there. It's around the 170 mark. So somewhere in this vicinity, we see Bitcoin topping around there at the end of this cycle. So pretty exciting times, and it's a big, big move. Okay, and from current price action, that would put us at a 235% increase at the 200K mark. All right, which is 3x, or here, which is just under a 3x. Okay, for over 3x, 3.5 or so, 3.33, and 2.7x. Okay, so quite good gains from current levels where the predictions will be, and that is quite simply just using the arc just to measure up, sort of to grab this and bring the curvature around to give it a rough estimate of where the curvature will continue. And this obviously rises too, and it gives you a $200,000 price prediction right there. Okay. Now, if you want to measure, that's the top, right? How do you find the bottom? Now, this is interesting too. So we've got the tops. Now, the bottoms. Let's just measure them. Let's do it. So we measure the top here to the bottom. We've got 14. Okay. So it was 14, just over a year. So roughly a year. 14 months. Let's double check that. Yes, it was 14 months. Let's get the next one. Next cycle, which was here to the bottom. That was 11. So it's under a year, roughly. These are rough estimations, okay, guys. These aren't 100%. And from the top, measure this line here to the bottom. It's 13. All right. So you've got some mixed results. So you've got 11, you've got 13, and we've got 14. All right. So the 2013 cycle, got 14 bars of 14 months, 11 months, and we got 13 months. So if you take an average of all these, and you're looking around 12. I think 12's like the average, I believe. Around 12. Yeah, 12's about, so which is basically a year, 1 year. If you take an average of these three, right? And if you want to take an average from September, right, the top there to roughly 12 months, that would put you at, September of 2026. So exactly a year later, obviously. And if you want to grab the arc again, all right, I want to go from the bottom. I can grab the bloody thing. And it looks a bit different on the bottom, but that's how we go. So you can go from pick an area about there and draw an arc, draw it out. So it fits the line, because you've got to make sure it measures precisely on this line. Okay, something like this. because it is an arc channel, right? That's roughly pretty good. It's close enough, as you can see there. And measuring it out to the bear market bottom, we expect it to bottom out. And that puts us, and the bottom's here, and that's 60K. Right. It touches the bottom of the channel, and that is 60K right there. Okay. So mark that in green. And that'll be your bottom of the bear market. So these current levels that we're at the moment, we're at 62,000. This will be approximately the bear market low for 2026. So these will be the low levels. We won't see these levels ever again, according to this arc and this channel, as it keeps rising over time, the Bitcoin price. And, it does come down and touch it. So it touches it here, say 2015, it touched it, right? And in this cycle here, it did come down here on this candle, 2012, obviously way below it here. That was the inception of Bitcoin until we started trending inside it, okay, and then formed a nice channel. And then you keep going. It came back down in 2020, big wick, didn't close the candle below it, touched it. 2022, it came back down and touched it. So all the bear markets. And then if you expect it to come, obviously down here, could come a bit later. But the later it goes, the higher the price. So a rough range would be 60K. If it takes a bit longer, 2027, it will be 65K. It will be the bottom for Bitcoin in the next bear market. Okay, which is a rough average I've taken from these. So 11 months from the top to bottom, 14 months, and so 14, 11, and 13. So it's hard to look at, and you can see there that it's just a rough estimation. It's roughly a year, and it puts us out to 2026 September, which gives us 60K. So these are the price sections, guys. These are interesting price sections. What we're seeing. Another thing I want to quickly show you, if you wanted to do predictions, go this top here to the bottom of the bear market. So from top to bottom, and I use a Fibonacci extension. If you drag your line across, we get the 3.618 Fibonacci level. See that? Right here. I probably can't see it now. I'll line up there, which lines up with the top, okay, at 200K. So that's another confluence you can use, 3.618 top, all right, in September 2025. All right, so use it as a confluence if you want to, and that is that one to go along with as well. So that is pretty much it, and this is using time to measure where we can see things happening, and using the halving, which is very, very important for Bitcoin. This becomes more scarce over time. Every 4 years, the block rewards get cut in half, the miners, and it amazingly predicts the tops. All right, so from the bottom to the top, recap, 2012 was a year. From the halving to the very top was a year, and then a year basically down, and then a year and a half until it got to the halving. From the bottom to the halving took a bit longer, and then a year and a half to the top, right, from the halving. And the bottom was roughly a year, and then we had again a year and a half from the bottom to the halving was a year and a half, and then a year and a half up to the top, 2021 cycle, and then to down was roughly a year to the bottom, and from the bottom to the halving was this time round 2024, 17 months, and then we get 17 months again to the halving to the top, which puts us at 200K and 170K roughly in that range, all right, which is around 174% increase. If it does get to the top, that's 200% roughly, which is 3x from here, all right. And and to the bear market, to the next cycle would put us at 60K. So current levels will be around the bottom for the bear market. So that's quite a good sign. If you're looking at this video when it comes out, if you look at it in the future, then it probably looks quite grim, but it looks quite good now that you're saying that if you're buying these prices, these will be the next bear market lows, according to the measurement of time and the Bitcoin price risk power law, essentially, that measures Bitcoin's logarithmic progression growth over time, and it's very, very exciting. Right, and if it's still around by then, hopefully it is. It's still a prominent, strong asset class and growing. It doesn't fall out of favour and head lower and break down below this line. Hopefully it holds it as it's done historically. Okay, so this is the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Just went over the Hang Seng having a terrible day today in the Asia session. It is down 6.5%. They're quite bad. So the US's pre-market's doing okay. It's barely up, but we'll see how that trades. It could be volatile, but we'll see. And we looked at, importantly, the Bitcoin price prediction for 2025, the top in September. So roughly a year away is the top, mid-September-ish to roughly October. No exact day, but a rough monthly prediction. And we switched to the monthly from the weekly because it looked a bit neater. And it gives you a rough estimation of where we could top out for the next cycle. And I did predict it with time, and I looked at price. So using the Bitcoin risk metric to get a rough price target. And it came at $200,000. And the low point would be roughly 170,000. So we don't get 200, we get 170. And that's roughly a 3x from here. So quite bullish, quite good to see. If you're buying at these prices, it's not a bad return. Look at a year out, which is good. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But it's all according to the time between the bottom of Bitcoin to the halving period. And then the halving period to the top is the exact same measurement. And it has played out every time, okay, exactly. From the 2012 to 2013 peak. And then the halving that year to the halving in 2016 to the 2018 peak. Okay. And then the 2020 halving from the bottom to 2020 and then to the top, 2021 cycle. And then the 2022 lows to the halving of this year and then going into 2025. So, yeah, very exciting. And I looked at also the practically where the low will be for 2026 a year later. And it's basically at current levels. The low will come in around 60K. All right, that'll be the very low, and won't see anything lower ever again, potentially. But it all depends on this real estate cycle, how it plays out, and how euphoric and speculative and extravagant, and how many people get sucked into it, and how many bank failures happen when the crisis comes, and the land values, and it really depends on the politics, the government side of things too, and economies, and how bad the recession will get, the job market as well. So it's all these factors. If it gets really, really bad and the stock market falls like 50%, for example, like it did in the great financial crisis at the end of its real estate cycle, Bitcoin could fall 70 or 80%, which will put us around that 60K price, okay, by the bear market. So going from a 200 top to 60K, okay, is roughly a 66 to 70% decline, or 70% roughly decline if it does get to these prices. So yeah, it would put us at these predictions, but Bitcoin could get smacked a bit more. Okay, it could go down lower. We don't know. So this risk metric could be broken in the future. Hopes not, but yeah, if things get really bad, then Bitcoin can really, really struggle. Okay, because it's not trading like a safe haven asset. It's like a high risk asset at the moment because it's only just been established like 15 years ago. So it's not like gold just yet. It's got the similar characteristics of gold, but it's just so new and too uncertain because it's just, like I said, it's new. Gold's been around 1,000 years. So thousands of years versus 15 years, you can't put it in the same level as gold, unfortunately. So its future will depend on its holders and how strong they can hold on for. It depends on people sell it. And yeah, if it does have a lot of selling pressure, then we can probably go lower, but hopefully it doesn't get lower than 60K. But yeah, Bitcoin's becoming very, very more and more popular. I do see it trending that way, like, you know, similar to the internet and this digital revolution. being a prominent asset going forward, because it's got an ETF that came out this year, and big funds are getting onto it and embracing it, and retirement funds and even governments are embracing it. Donald Trump, and on the other side, the Kamala Harris side, and everyone's getting right around it. It's becoming part of the culture and part of the financial system. Bitcoin is. So, that is that. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please smash the like, comment your thoughts below, subscribe to stay updated. Be sure to check out the links below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.